What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. Today, man, we're talking about Trevin Wallace right here. Now, why are we starting off with the combine? What I want to do right here is kind of go back and kind of erase your memory, per se, and look at Trevin Wallace before we saw him his rookie year. All right, so remember the drafted Trevin out of Kentucky, 6'1", about 240, round 3, pick 8. So you're like, okay, some thought they reached, some thought they didn't reach. All right, production score 69, athleticism score 87, total score 76. Take with that what you will. And then you look at the bottom. All right, you got a 4.5 40-yard dash, 1.62 10-yard split, 37.5 vertical, and a 10.7 broad jump. When I saw these numbers, I was like, okay, we're definitely getting an athletic linebacker, which makes sense for the 3-4. Right, and Trevin Wallace, it said on the combine he had one weakness. And, you kind of saw that early on in the season. And you're going to see that on this play right here. We're going to break it down from the end zone angle right here. Take a look. So on this play, they're going to motion the tight end over here, right? They're going to pull the backside guard over here on this counter. Now, you have to look at this from Trevin's point of view. Okay, so like I said before, they motion the tight end right there, right? Bang. They pull that guard, right? The backside guard. Trevin's expecting this right here. What the running back's going to actually do is bounce it to the outside. Well, what you have to do now is you have to look at Claude. And Claude actually does a great job right here because he's going to pick up the tight end right here, right? The lead block on the outside, plus the backside guard right here. Take a look what happens. All right, bang, here comes the tight end. There goes the guard. Claude does a great job, but unfortunately, Trevin gets sucked in, and then bang, the running back gets to the outside. And I know the video is talking about, okay, you're hyped for Trevin. Why are you showing me that? That was really his only, I'd say, weakness, something he has to improve on. And he struggled with it in college, right? And he's not going to get better with it year one in the NFL. But there were other problems, all right, for the front seven and the defense as a whole. Like right here, Falcons run a little stretch RPO. And what I want you guys to look at on this play is this right here. All right, so they're going to run a little motion, all right, a little stretch. Running back has that at, the 36 to 37. There is not a defender inside on 1st and 10. On first, it's not like it's a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 20, right? You're going to drop people back. It's 1st and 10. So 5 yards later, still not touched. No one's even remote. I mean, kind of close, but not really close. You guys see what we're dealing with here? You see what Trevin Wallace was thrown into his rookie season, right? And you could blame Avero if you want to. You could blame the players. You could blame injuries. But this right here kind of shows you how bad, all right, just the defense was in general, right? The front line wasn't great. Our defensive line wasn't great, right? They get destroyed almost right away, right? I mean, right here, we're not getting any pressure. That's done there. That's going to allow him to work second level. Pick up Trevin, I believe, right over the top. Yep. And then there goes the running back, right? So why do I have high hopes for Trevin? Because I don't think this will happen anymore. And what I mean by this will happen, run that end zone angle real quick. These are two things I don't think will happen anymore. One, Tuttle right here, take a look, right? He's going to try and shoot the gap. Bang. Now he leaves a big hole. You got DJ Johnson right there. I'm like, okay, he's going to take down the running back. Nope. Running back runs right by him. Now you're like, okay, well, what about Trevin on this play? Trevin, he's got to cover the front side right here. So, what is this, Bijan right here? If Bijan hits that hole right there, Trevin's got to pick that up, right? So I understand him naturally drifting to the right. But this goes back to what I talked about before, right? Watch all the offensive linemen, right? Easily working second level. Right here, second level. Right here, second level. Right? Easy. And the Falcons are just running at will. And the reason I don't think this will happen again is because now you have kind of better pieces in place per se, right? You got Tershawn Wharton. You got Bobby Brown. You got Derek Brown back. On the outside, you got DJ Wanham, right? Plus you have Patrick Jones too. So right there, that's what? Kind of 3 to 5 pieces. I know Derek Brown was injured last year. He's coming back. But right there alone shows me that first line of defense should be better, which should allow really Trevin Wallace to do what he did back when we first drafted him, right? We're going to do that in a second. Let's keep it going real quick because there were some positives. All right, let's look at some of those real quick. Something that stood out on tape, all right, from the jump was Trevin Wallace stopping the run between the tackles, right? You saw it there. You're going to see it right here against the Bears once again. No questions asked. The dude was a beast at stopping a run in the middle. And I think sometimes, right, if you think about it, you're like, okay. And if you think about it like this, sometimes your biggest strength can almost be the reason for your biggest weakness, right? So his biggest weakness on paper against the run was sometimes he gets sucked in the middle, bang, they bounce it to the outside, right? So he's so good against the run in the middle that he's going to have to learn kind of how to balance, right, against the middle, how to potentially pursue faster. You see where I'm going with this? And then contain the middle, but also watch out for the run that bounces to the outside. So an outside linebacker has to pick up the lead block, and Trevin's going to come behind and not get sucked in. You see where I'm going? So it's kind of a blessing and a curse per se. Next play we're going to look at right here against the Bears once again. All right, look at Trevin right here. The way he reads and reacts is why the Panthers drafted him, right? Now, we didn't get to see a lot of it per se because, one, the first line of defense wasn't doing a good job, holding down their gaps, right? Offensive linemen consistently working second level. But against the run, right, between the tackles, that's where Trevin Wallace showed you, okay, that's where I can really excel at. Right here, this is what the Panthers wanted. And what I mean by that is kind of how they hoped their defense was going to look per se, right? So what I mean by that is, Ivero likes to run that 3-4 look, right? So you're going to have Josie playing the mic, essentially Trevin Wallace playing the inside linebacker role, right? More of the athletic linebacker look. The problem was this right here. Linebackers, not just linebackers, everybody kept getting hurt last year. And what happened was Claude would play the mic, Trevin would play the mic. There's a few other guys I think at some point played the mic too. And the mic is an essential part of the defense. And if you don't have the right guy playing the mic, getting everybody in charge, everyone's seen that viral clip of Luke Kuechly telling everybody what to do. If you got Trevin in there, his rookie year, with other guys who are potentially rookies too or aren't starters, it's going to be a mess, right? And so you take out Josie Jewell, you put in Claude back here, and it's just those two, and then the defensive line, as you guys know, is completely injured. You kind of see why the defense was such a mess, right? But right here, it gave you a taste of what to expect from Trevin Wallace in the future, all right? Right here against the Giants. Let's see what we're getting, all right? Oh, pass coverage. Now, something we didn't get to talk a lot about, right? Why would the opponent dump it off to the running backs in the pass game, when they could run all over the defense? And something else I want to look at right here is Trevin Wallace shooting the gap right here, which is going to lead us to our next point, which is Trevin Wallace was doing this in college, right? And this is why I have so much hope and faith that he's going to go back to this right here, shooting gaps, taking down the running backs on the outside, right? I'm not sure what Ivero had him doing last year, and I get it, there's injuries, right? Because you really can't shoot Trevin through a gap when, all right, your first line of defense isn't getting any pressure. Whether you send 3, 4, or 5, they're not getting any pressure. So is blitzing Trevin going to do anything? No, right? Because they're just going to pass off a lineman and then pick him up, right? So it didn't make any sense to blitz him. On top of that, right, so your first line's not getting any pressure. Your secondary is getting torched left and right. And it got better to a point, right, as the season went on, right? So your secondary is in trouble. Your first line is in trouble. If you blitz him, now your secondary is in more trouble because now your guy's short in the middle unless you bring a safety up. Well, that just sounds bad, right? Because if you look at how the Panther safeties have played over the last, 3 to 5 years, it hasn't been great. So you bring a safety in the box, now you have a single high safety over the top. You see the problem with the Panthers defense. Yeah, Vero's scheme wasn't good, but the players weren't great either, then injuries. So you can't blitz Trevin, even though you watch his college tape right here, and you see him shooting the gap, chasing on the quarterback, going to the outside, right? You can't do that because then you put the defense and pass coverage as a liability across the middle, right? And okay, we'll bring a safety up. Well, now you put the safeties and a liability over the top, right? Which is what the Panthers consistently kept getting beat on. Why I have hope for Trevin this year is because of what the Panthers went out and did this offseason, right? Secondary is still, we'll see how it goes, right? But the front seven should be fixed enough where we're going to see this right here. Trevin shooting the gap, making plays on the quarterback, chasing on the running back, inside and outside. I'm hyped, all right? So let me know your thoughts, all right? The season's getting closer and closer. I'm excited. Let me know if there's any content you guys want to see before the season starts, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Panthers Advice is out. Peace.